Thanks for watching Morning Live. Now, Eskom has warned that although it has suspended Stage 2 rolling blackouts, energy supply in the country is expected to remain constrained for the whole of this week. Now, the power utility says that this means that there's a strong possibility of further rolling blackouts. And Eskom implemented Stage 2 rolling blackouts yesterday afternoon after Unit 5 of Medupi Power Station reportedly tripped, and with that taking out some 700 megawatts of capacity with it. Eskom spokesperson Sikonathi Mantshantsha says that the inclement weather has also increased the demand for electricity. Now, a man who predicted this latest round of blackouts last week already is energy analyst Ted Blom, and he joins us now for further discussion. Ted, good to have you here on Morning Live. Welcome.
Hi, good morning to you.
So you predicted it last week. Is it a crystal ball, or were there clear signs that this was going to happen?
I think they were, for me anyway, there were reasonably clear signs that it was imminent. I didn't want to create panic, so that's why I sort of gave it a bit of a wider window. But yes, if you look at Eskom's operating statistics last week, on Tuesday, they were really very close to going over the precipice, and then they managed to sort of half save the day. And by the weekend, I could see that certainly with the weather ahead, things were going to go pear-shaped, and that's why I went out and put out a warning last week Thursday.
So, looking at what's happening, the first instance we were told about the Medupi outage, the tripping there at that power station. Again, this is a new station. We're talking about maintenance, and then you also have to look at what's happening with the new stations coming onto the grid. Why is this still happening? I mean, are we not able to, at least in the new power stations, fix the problems so that we can have that dealt with forever?
Okay, so I mean, the fact of the matter is what the chickens coming home to roost now are betraying Eskom's lies that they've been telling us for the last 5 years, and that is that the old stations are unreliable and that the new stations will rescue us. The fact of the matter is that even the new stations are delinquent in terms of performance, and really that's where the problem is. And the problem is exacerbated by the fact that the new stations have far bigger units. The very old stations have 100 megawatt units. So if one or two go off, it's not that impactful. But at the new stations, each unit is 800 megawatts. So if one of those units goes down, it's equivalent to 8 or 4 old stations units going down. So that's why the impact is much worse. So the fact of the matter is that there are various risk parameters around the world in the energy industry that people tend to adhere to. And those parameters come from years and years, over 100 years of experience. And unfortunately, as long as Eskom flagrantly breaches those parameters, we will have unexpected load shedding. Eskom is running on a 7% or less safety factor. The worldwide average for a normal fleet is around 15% safety factor. So if you're running at half the safety factor, it means you're prepared to run with no brakes or with a flat tire. Well, then you must expect to fall over every now and again. And that's exactly where we are now. And I think it's very bad for the economy and for the people of South Africa that Eskom hasn't got its act together, especially under the new management who promised us the end to load shedding after 18 months. And here we are 3 years later, we're still having load shedding.
We're still having load shedding, and we're still going to have quite a bit more load shedding. Just in terms of what we were told, what to expected, this was earlier in the year, more than 2 months of load shedding expected for this year. So how much of that have we had already?
Okay, so Eskom's come out and said that they forecast 61 days of load shedding, and that was after the January mess. They're predicting that for this winter season. So we've had 1 day of the 61 days. So yes, unfortunately, we're going to have to look forward and survive another 2 months or 60 days of load shedding, which is totally unacceptable. I mean, this has been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. And as long as the people at Eskom are not competent enough to assess the risks, and they have a hot relationship with government who are supposed to be ameliorating these risks with the emergency supplies, etc., we as South Africans face the brunt of this incompetence and corruption. Don't make a mistake. the corruption at Eskom is still ongoing at the rate of billions of rands a year. And in fact, I will be taking this up with the authorities in the near future because the previous criminal cases that we laid at SAPS and the SIU don't seem to have gone anywhere because of the political forces that are involved with the corruption.
Just remind us of some of those cases. What exactly are you talking about, Ted?
Okay, so on the 1st of June last year, there was a change in the control of one of the coal suppliers. The new coal suppliers is what we would call in banking terms a politically affected person, and that is there are political parties who now took over the supply of the coal mine. And on day one of that new contract, the management of Eskom gleefully signed a amendment to the terms of the contract, which more than doubled the coal price to Eskom. So Eskom is paying an extra 4 billion rand on average a year extra for the same coal that it previously got at half the price at Medupi Power Station. So, and that is one example of many other stories of corruption. In fact, I had communication from one of the ex-power station managers directly to me, saying to me, Ted, keep it up, you're hot on the trot here as far as the corruption and the ongoing pressure is concerned. Whenever there's load shedding, it seems to me Eskom goes into crisis mode, and at all costs they patch and trying to get the units back online as fast as possible instead of doing proper repairs. And that's been borne out by the repeated failures of units that have just been repaired and they fail within 3 weeks to a month again. And that illustrates incompetent management at Eskom side, in that they don't sit back, assess the risk, and take proactive plans to sort the mess out. And really, from an economic point of view and from an unemployment point of view, it's totally unacceptable. It's time that the political powers take control of the situation and fix it up.
So just taking a look at the load shedding statistics, and I was looking at this from 30th of November 2021, and this is a CSIR report, and they put up a graph looking at load shedding over the years since 2007, and just looking at it is quite interesting when we talk about maintenance and, of course, making sure that we keep the lights on. So starting in 2007, 2008, you had 176, 476. This is maybe not helpful because I'm reading the graph, but just in terms of the amount of energy that was shed in this graph that was put up by the CSIR.
Gigawatt hours, yes.
Yes. So looking at that, so 2007, 2008. And then you have 2009 and going into the World Cup in 2010. No load shedding, and that was continued until around 2013. Then 2014, we start seeing the load shedding again. 2015, it goes to a record high at that point. 2016-17, no load shedding. 2018 starts again, 19, 20, and last year we had record numbers of load shedding in South Africa. So what exactly is going on? Why are we able at certain points to keep the lights on continuously and at others not?
Okay, so the period of 2007-2008, the load shedding was caused by corruption on the coal procurement side of Eskom. There was a standoff between the corruptors and the corruptees, and the corruptors won. In fact, that's when Eskom CFO at the time left Eskom, and I was forced to leave after exposing the corruption at that time. 2009, 2010, there was a political decision to keep the lights on at all costs for the World Cup, and that meant that maintenance was shelved. In other words, not proper maintenance was not, and timeous maintenance was not carried out. And that impasse on the maintenance carried on until about 2014, because some people in Eskom saw that if they could save money on maintenance, Eskom could pay them fat bonuses, and that's what exactly happened. You'll recall that one of the executive directors of Eskom walked away in 2014 with a 22 million rand bonus because of so-called save costs, which included not doing the maintenance. Then in 2014, 2015, maintenance was reinstated, and then because of that, you have diminished capacity because you have to take units offline to do the maintenance. And then in 2015, 2016, Mr. Koko came around, and I think as far as I'm concerned, despite his shortcomings, he's probably the most competent engineer Eskom's had in the last 20 years. And he actually put his shoulder to the wheel and sorted out the maintenance arrears, and in fact stopped the load shedding, which is contrary to the lies that Eskom's current management have been telling about the non-maintenance over that period of time. In fact, there was a court case or a ruling in the last 2 weeks which exonerated Mr. Koko from so-called malaise in the maintenance department. So those chickens still have to come to roost, because I suspect there will be more court cases coming to the fore out of that defamation from the current management towards the previous management. And it's the oldest trick in the book. When you're having a problem, you blame the previous regime. But the fact of the matter is that the current maintenance is technical. It's inadequate planning of maintenance and monitoring of the condition of the units. There were condition monitoring units installed when I was around in 2007, 2008. I'm led to believe that a lot of these monitoring things have been taken off because a lot of people make a lot of money when there are emergency breakdowns and there are big kickbacks. And I believe that is still ongoing inside Eskom.
So just in terms of the amount of diesel that is burnt every time that we have power outages, that we have load shedding, how much are we spending?
Okay, so that's billions of rands, and it adds up at quite a fast pace. So one OCGT, which is capable of generating around about 150 megawatts of power, one unit consumes 50,000 liters of diesel per hour that it's running. Eskom has got, together with the Department of Energy's IPPs and other units, they've got access to about 20 of these units. So they consume an exorbitant amount of diesel. And besides that, there's also the logistics of getting 50,000 liters of diesel into every unit per hour. That's more than a tanker truck that delivers fuel to your local garage, which only holds 30,000 liters. So it's nearly 2 of those tanker trucks that have to come and offload every hour at every unit that's busy burning at either Atlantis or at Mossel Bay at Grika. So yes, it costs an exorbitant amount of money, and notwithstanding that, we still have load shedding, which in fact costs us jobs and productivity in the economy.
Well, and it obviously goes on. Let's park it here for now. Thanks so much, Ted Blom, energy analyst, talking to us about the latest round of blackouts. And Ted already last week predicting that it would happen, and it has. But just taking a look at everything that's going on with the new units breaking down, it really is cause for concern. But also, we're not out of the woods yet, because 61 days of load shedding predicted for this year. We've had one, so another 60 to go. So let's take a quick break here.